Let's address that elephant in the room, shall we? Why haven't you started creating that first course yet, and what's holding you back? I think I have an idea. So one of the first things I often hear from people when they're talking about starting their first course, but they haven't quite done it yet, is some form of fear of failure. And it's perfectly normal. We all have it in anything we do in life, right? We don't want to look silly in the eyes of our peers, and that will make us not dive into the deep end and not take some chances that would probably pay off tremendously if we did it. And most of us like just playing it safe because it's comfortable and we don't like being uncomfortable. But the reality is that's when you really grow, is when you start doing something that kind of puts you out of your comfort zone. So in regards to course creation specifically, I feel like a lot of people forget that the subject that you want to make a course on, you probably know a lot of stuff about. And I can imagine that you're already kind of the go-to person with your friends and your family as far as getting advice or getting some sort of issue resolved within that subject. So you need to just shed all of this silly fear of failure and understand that your course is ready to be created. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be certified. You just need to be a few steps ahead of people in order to actually create a course that'll be worthwhile for somebody else out there. And look at it this way as well. If you're already getting pestered again and again by the same people in order to actually provide an answer on something, I'm pretty sure you can construct a course out of that knowledge and make it worthwhile even for strangers to go ahead and purchase that. So shed that fear of failure, because it is a silly one of holding you back, because we're gonna fail in life, but the only things we get really good at are the ones that we keep failing at again and again and again until we get good at them. And that's how you probably started with the subject that you want to create a course on. Was from day one you weren't great at it, but over time you've accumulated enough knowledge on it, and here we are. So don't let that be the reason for why you haven't actually gone ahead and created that first course that may very well be the change in your life that you've been looking for. So another one that I often see being the cause of people not going ahead and finally launching that course is actually perfectionism. I suffer under this a lot. I kind of want everything to be perfectly set up, and I have this idea in my head of like, if I just read this next book, or if I just wait until like the lighting is perfectly, then the video or the course or whatever it is I'm doing will be mwah. But the reality is that thinking has often left me postponing a lot of stuff, because I keep finding that excuse that no, it needs to be perfect before I can feel comfortable putting it out there. And it's funny, right? We watch these kind of videos, we see other courses, we see people being successful in whatever it is they do in life, and we know that they can make mistakes, yet we paint this image of ourselves as having to be perfect. And nothing in life is really perfect, right? So it's a silly one as well, as far as you not diving into the deep end and getting started with your course, is the perfectionism issue. A lot of people suffer from this, and it's kind of a thing you get to suffer in silence with, because you tell people like, I'm actually working on it, but there's a few things that I just need to have done before it's really ready. And you'll keep saying that over and over and over. And the reality is you just got to put it out there and then reiterate and make it better the next time. And that's how you strive for perfection, is like to always be hunting for it. Mind you, you're not going to find it, but just keep improving on what you already have, and you'll be laughing when you look back at the fact that you didn't put something out there because you were trying to make it perfect. Don't fall into that trap. Technical barriers. I think a lot of people might be intimidated about the fact that they'll need to get comfortable with a lot of like IT stuff, and they're like, I don't do that at all. I'm a hands-on kind of person. I'm not good with that at all. I'm not geeky. Whatever it is they say, I know that the technical barrier can be very intimidating for a lot of people, but you need to just find comfort in the fact that not only are there a plethora of help videos, even for specific like course tools and things that you need in order to actually set it up, of like what camera should you use and what microphone, etc. I'll say if I were to give you a quick tip, the most important part of all the technical things is to just get a decent microphone and make sure that your sound is at least very good. Camera and all these things we can always improve on, even down to like how do I shoot it and all this. Like, just get started. But if people can't hear you clearly and pick up of what it is you're saying when you're trying to teach them something, that's going to be a big issue. So like, microphone is something that you definitely look to invest in early on to make sure that that's up to par. But the rest of it, listen, so many help videos, as I already mentioned. And also, mind you, if you are teaching a subject that doesn't demand that you are technically a absolute wizard, people will be very forgiving of that. And more often than not, I personally don't have a thought in the back of my head when I'm watching somebody teach me something of like, oh, they're not that good technically, or they missed the button on the click, or whatever it is, right? It's kind of these like self-induced irrational things when you're like, oh, I'm not technically enough, and they will be able to tell. Nobody cares. They just want to figure out, do they vibe with you, like the personality that you have, and are you able to teach what it is that you actually know in a motivating way? Are you like somebody that they can connect with? Do you feel like, or do they feel like that they like your way of teaching? That's far more important than your technical ability. And also, lastly, to finish this off, you can hire people that are technically able to do the things that you aren't, and find help that way. Which leads me into the next one, is the financial barrier. I feel like this is something that often isn't spoken too much about, because it's a little bit of a touchy subject for a lot of people, right? The reality is that to get started creating a course, there is more than likely going to be some sort of finances that has to go into it somehow, some way. A lot of the platforms that are out there that'll help you as far as creating it, they want money ahead of time in order to use their services, which means that you're already investing in something that it may be your first time doing it. You might not be too comfortable of how to promote it and gain an audience for it, and you don't really know whether or not there is a lot of like validity in what it is you're teaching. So that means that it's kind of, it leaves a lot of things in the unsure territory. And the reality is that it is tough, but there are platforms out there that allows you to actually go ahead and create what it is you want to create without any upfront cost, leaving you to spend time more than money, and gives you the freedom to kind of bumble and stumble and figure out like, okay, the first course didn't stick, I need to reiterate a few things and then I need to create a new one. Or maybe you need to pivot in another direction after learning what it was that you did wrong on the first course. And there are platforms that allow that. I just don't think a lot of people are aware of it, and they get caught up with the bigger platforms that are often promoted. This leads me into me talking about our platform, Learners HQ, which is entirely free for you to use. We have a profit sharing business model, so we don't earn money before you earn money, and we give you all of the freedom to actually go out there and test what actually sticks. This platform is a result of what I'm talking about, that when we started, me and my business partner, making money online, we were strapped for cash always, and we felt like all of these different platforms were just sucking us dry and taking all of our profits with like fees and all of this. And more often than not, if we did use a profit sharing model, they would eat up our fees. If we were to pay somebody in advance for using the tool, they would only allow us to kind of run one course or one project, and that also left us very unsure and on thin ice of whether or not this would be a success. And that of course influenced our process and the product itself. And yeah, I just want to let you know that there are actually different platforms out there that do help you out, and that's on your side. I'll put a few of the other ones that I do recommend in the description box here for this video, so take a look at those if this is something that's relatable for you as far as not being able to start creating your first course. Then I want to talk about the fact that you may not be entirely sure of how you should actually organize and structure a course. So kind of like the lack of clarity on the direction to go as far as creating your first course. My number one tip to solve that issue is to just go out and consume another course. Take a course, see what you like, mirror what it is they're doing more or less, and use that as the blueprint for your own first course. or you can contact people on LinkedIn or YouTube and so forth, where there's people out there that literally have a job that is about helping people like you on how to structure and organize a course. And there's a lot of them, and they're all fantastic at what they do, the ones I've encountered anyways. So there's a lot of ways for you to like gain direction on which way you should go. But the easiest one is just to consume a course that's already in the niche that you're thinking of. See what they're doing, how can you improve it, and how can you put your flair on it and make it your style. That'll be the easiest way to go forward as far as creating some clarity on the path you need to take. Then we have a big one. It's the imposter syndrome, and this is kind of people's tendency to compare their status quo to somebody else's progression. So you look at somebody who is super successful or have created numerous courses and seems like on paper that they know everything they're doing, and you kind of you back yourself into a corner thinking like, why should I even bother beginning, since there's no way I can compare with so and so. And the reality is you shouldn't be comparing with so and so. They also at one point had to start out. We all have to start out at some point, and all you need to be is a few steps ahead of the people that's gonna find your course and feel like that's more comfortable for me because you are a few steps ahead of me and I want to catch up. I don't need an expert, I don't need somebody who's certified, but I just need to see what did you do to get to where you are now. And you need to then stop comparing yourselves with people that are way ahead of you. You need to stop thinking you're not good enough. You need to stop saying that you need a certification, all this here. In almost any field of expertise that's out there, there are people at different levels, and there's somebody starting tomorrow that's gonna look for guidance from somebody who's just getting started or who's been doing it for a year and whatnot, which is way more relevant to them than somebody who's been doing it for 20 years and who's a quote unquote expert now. So try to shed that disbelief of the fact that there's no point in you starting out just because there are other people in the industry that are far ahead of you in the game. You will get to that status as well if you just keep at it. So be careful of falling into that trap as well, of the saying you're not good enough. You most certainly are, and you might also have a different personality style or type that is completely missing in the market, and you might find your own little like slice of the pie of customers. And trust me, the industry of courses and coaching and whatnot is insanely big. You should be able to get a little piece of that pie and be very happy that you decided to take the plunge, even though you felt like there were people out there that were better at what they're doing than you are currently. Don't let that be a hindrance to you. Then we can also talk about the fact that you might not want to be on video. I think a lot of people get intimidated about the fact of sitting and talking to a camera, and that's they don't feel comfortable and they would much rather just not be on camera. That's a possibility. You can do that. You can not be on camera and you can grow comfortable over time, or you can just never be on camera. You don't have to be on camera for everything to work. You can screen share. You can like have your hands out there. You see I'm fidgeting around trying to figure out what to do with my hands. Maybe you're better suited to just have them in camera, right? And be the main focus. You can have other things. You can edit the video, so there's things that you've recorded out and about that will be shown on the course. Like there's many ways to kind of get around the fact of I don't want to be on camera. I don't feel comfortable being on camera. And don't let that be one of the reasons as well that you're not getting started with your course, because go out there and look what's on the market. Go on some of the platform sites, some of the marketplace sites that's out there. Take a look, start doing some research to see what type of courses are actually out there. And then you'll find out that not everybody is on camera, and it's completely okay. And there is a market for people not being on camera. Like there's a lot. Be sure that that doesn't hold you back either. And then there's some of you that are just professional procrastinators. Just don't get it done. And I'm here to tell you, stop. Just stop right now. Like you're better than that. You deserve better than that. Start doing something. Take one step. I feel like the best way to get over that procrastination issue is to just set small goals, right? Set a small daily goal that you want to achieve, whether that is today I want to write the first chapter, or today I want to make the first draft, or today I want to go on camera and talk for a little bit. Whatever it is, make sure that you keep your goals small and then you achieve them, and then you just let that compound over time until all of a sudden you actually have the first draft of your course. But this is something where like I fall into this trap a lot. I'll sit and research for days on end and I'll be like, I'll get to it. And before you know it, time has passed and you'll be looking back and you'll be frustrated with yourself that you just didn't do it, especially when you have all of the time in the world to do it and you end up just not doing anything with that time. You're gonna kick yourself when you get older, trust me. I know this is easier said than done, but do your best to not procrastinate. Small goals, achieve those, let them compound. Bob's your uncle. So there you have it. Those are some of the most common reasons that I encounter about why people aren't going ahead and creating their first course. And I will say that if any of these were the ones that you right now are trying to convince yourselves is a good reason to not do it, man, you're wrong. You should just dive in there and try creating that first course. You know, show it to friends and family, get some information, get some advice on how you can improve it. Use a platform like ours, Learners HQ. It gives you the freedom to make mistakes and feel comfortable with the fact that you're not under some time pressure because you paid in advance for something that you aren't entirely sure is going to stick, and then get comfortable with the fact of marketing and promoting yourself and attracting that audience so you can have people actually convert and purchase the course that you've now put together. And in return, you get to help them learn something and everybody wins. So I don't know what's holding you back. If you've watched this video, let me know in the comments if I missed on something, if there is a new reason that I'm not aware of that's holding you back, and I'll do my best to then go ahead and kill that obstacle in the comment section.